Step on up, sit down, twist off that bottle top or crack open that can, and welcome to Porch Matters. This is Terry Cagle coming to you from my back porch. Yes sir, yes ma'am, the name of this show is authentic. On Porch Matters, our saying is this: big issues or just a friendly conversation. No topic is off limits. We take pride in being able to talk about anything with each other in an open discussion. Open discussion is one of the only ways to learn. Your perspective could be changed. You could change the perspective of others. Friends and family, welcome to another episode of Porch Matters. I'm glad you're here. Hope everyone has had a great couple of weeks. I got a good conversation I'm fixing to share with you. But before I do that, if this is your first time listening to Porch Matters, I want to thank you for listening. Hope you enjoy the show, and I hope you like, follow, or subscribe on whichever platform you're listening to us on. Speaking of platforms, I've never advertised for any platform that I can remember. I have shared the show on some platforms in the past, mainly because that platform made it easy for me to share a link on that particular social media platform. For example, Spotify makes it easy to share on Snapchat, Facebook, and Instagram stories, so I'll share that link even though I don't listen to a lot of podcasts there. That being said, there's a platform out there that I would highly recommend, and I have made a post and a tweet about it. I'm a big podcast listener, literally and figuratively. Yeah, I'll make a fat joke on myself there. I found podcasts like a lot of people back in the day on Apple Podcast apps. But I'm actually fixing to stop listening to podcasts on Apple Podcast and start listening on Good Pods. This is not a paid advertisement, so don't think I'm getting paid to say this. I've yet to have any sponsors on this show, but I'm very open to the idea. If you check out Good Pods on Twitter, that platform is doing a lot for the indie podcasting community. They're doing everything that they can do to get more eyes on shows like this. I appreciate what they're doing, and I want to support them. The way I describe Good Pods is, if you were to combine a Facebook or a Twitter with a podcast platform, you can make your own profile and have access to a lot of different podcasts and make new friends. Your friends can see the podcasts that you listen to and vice versa. It's a really good place to find like-minded people and find a lot of good indie podcasts like this one or Z1 if you're a long-time listener to this show. If you're curious, go to the App Store and download Good Pods. That's Goodpods. It's a free app. Give it a shot. Speaking of Good Pods, I really need to check my email more. I found out that Porch Matters made their top 100 indie society and culture charts. Thanks to all of you that made that possible. I really do consider that an honor and a big deal. For the food review this week, I got a set of backstory. Mom watches a lot of Food Network and other cooking shows. That was the way we actually started our road trips back several years ago. She would watch shows like, drive-ins, diners, and dives, and see restaurants and some of the food that they made. If we ever saw any restaurant within driving distance, we'd actually make a road trip out of it. My first trip to Memphis was to eat at Neely's Barbecue. Very first time I went to Savannah was because Mom found out Paula Dean's restaurant was there. Well, Mom actually found out about a place in Dothan called KBC. We were going down to Gulf Shores to be with Stacy and her family that Friday, so we decided to make a day for ourselves and go through Dothan on the way down and try out KBC. KBC was started by Chef Kelsey Barnard Clark. She won season 16 of Top Chef. She's from Dothan originally. She moved up to New York and after being on Top Chef came back home. KBC is not only a restaurant but a catering service as well. Now, I've been through Dothan a few times and I have been downtown once or twice. But Dothan has done a lot of work and has totally revitalized their downtown area. I was really impressed. Dothan isn't just a town you drive through to get to Panama City anymore, y'all. We parked and went inside, was really impressed with the design of the restaurant. All I did was look up the address to the place. I should have done more research and at least found out what the hours were. We were told the kitchen shut down at 2:30 p.m. and we had 5 minutes to order. Mom and my great aunt Clara, who was with us, quickly looked over the menu and ordered a Reuben sandwich with sweet potato fries. I ordered the brisket sandwich with potato chips. Mom and Aunt Clara really enjoyed their Reuben. My Aunt Clara likes to eat like a bird, so she couldn't finish hers. She ended up giving me half of it. There was a lot of meat on it, and it had a really good taste to it, y'all. More meat on that Reuben than I've tasted on the Reuben pretty much anywhere else. My brisket sandwich was really good. I've never had a brisket with slaw on it. I've had barbecue, pulled pork and everything with slaw on it, but I've never had brisket with slaw on it. My first bite, I was like, where's the sauce? Because, that's what I'm used to. Second bite, it got better. Third bite, I was saying the same thing Stacy said about her sandwich from Rail Yard. The slaw on the brisket made it to where it didn't need any sauce. Really good sandwich. I'm not a big potato chip eater, but I ate every chip on my plate. They were hand cut and made right there. If any of the staff is listening to this, I'm really sorry we walked in 5 minutes before the kitchen shut down, but thank you very much for a great experience. Next time I go through Dothan, I'll be stopping back in. KBC in Dothan, Alabama is #FatBoy approved. If you swing by there, make sure you tell them you heard about them on Porch Matters. I took a chance last episode and tried to have some fun. The Would You Rather question last episode was, would you rather break wind in front of your crush or get caught picking your nose in front of your crush? Apparently, no one on Facebook dared to answer this one. What makes it even better? I forgot to post it on Instagram. My bad, y'all. On Twitter, It's Asher's was the lone comment on this Would You Rather question, and it's a pretty good one. It's Asher says, and I quote, either. I'm a damn heathen, and neither are embarrassing to me. Thank you for your answer, Ashers. I really appreciate it. New question this episode is, would you rather never read another book or never hear another song? My answer is never read another book. I love music and I still play drums when I get the opportunity. What say you? Please go to the Facebook page, Facebook group, Instagram, I do promise to post this one, or Twitter, and comment your answer. Next episode, I'll read your comment on the show. On this episode, Brandi Perry of Backroads and Burgers comes onto the porch. We talk about life in Mississippi, how Backroads and Burgers got started, and what Backroads and Burgers has coming up in the future. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you do too. And without further ado, let's get started. Brandi Perry, Backroads and Burgers. How are you, ma'am? Welcome to the
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Any better? I couldn't stand it.
I'm sure it's warm over there.
That's always my go-to phrase. It can go either positive or negative. You never can tell.
I tell people that all the time. I tell them if I complained, it wouldn't do any good anyway.
Only time people listen to us is when we're mad, right?
That's true. That is very true.
How's life over in Mississippi?
Oh, well, this morning it was actually kind of cool. It was 84 at 7 o'clock, and we got a lot of rain. Have been getting tons of rain this week, and so not terrible. But I've heard it's supposed to be 106 middle of the week again. So back to its normal August, early September temperatures for sure.
Absolutely.
What about in
So
Alabama?
some of my coworkers and everything are down in Jackson, and they actually got flooded out down there. I think it was last week.
Yeah, I'm only about an hour and a half from Jackson. Dory, the co-owner of Backroads, is about 45 minutes from Jackson. So they've been begging for the rain, though. Have been turning on irrigation systems and whatnot for the crops, but I think they've got all they need for a little while, hopefully.
Well, Dory, if you're listening, we hate we missed you, but we're going to catch up with you on the next time.
Absolutely. She hated missing it today, but she's looking forward to listening to it for sure.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living, and
Okay.
what led you to co-founding Backroads and Burgers with Dory?
Okay. So, well, Dory came on when we rebranded about 2 years ago. So Backroads was founded in 2019. Mark Rogers, a good friend of mine, he and several of our friends would get together on Friday and Saturday and Sunday afternoons, and we'd flip a coin, and we would decide if we're going north, south, east, or west. And we would go find a mom and pop place to eat, something cool to cover in history. And Mark was a managing editor of a newspaper. And so people started saying, you guys should start blogging. And of course, had no idea what a blog was. I had written for a few newspapers and magazines, but they were like, it's the same thing, but in a digital format. And I was like, oh gosh. So we launched our first website in 2018. Mark's wife passed away March or April of that year. And Mark moved to Greenville, Alabama, and from Greenville moved to North Carolina. And so COVID hit. So Backroads was stuck. Didn't really know what to do with it. Dory and I are coworkers. We both teach school, have been best friends for many years now. And I went to her classroom one day and I said, I just think Backroads is done. I think it's time to bury it. Delete it. I'm frustrated. I'm burnt out. And she said, what if I help you with it? Now, Dory has 3 children. Now 2 of them are grown and out of the house. So she only has Ella now. And Dory's an accomplished photographer. And so she just fell into that. And so January 2 years ago, we rebranded it, turned it into more of a destination marketing blog, and the rest has been history, and a really, really amazing history at that. So within about 6 weeks of rebranding, Visit Hattiesburg hired us, and we started promoting their Hattiesburger Trail, and then we went to Kansas, and we've been all over the place. And hopefully, this is our retirement plan one day.
What are some of your highlights?
Well, we just got back from Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa is, look, I said Roll Tide for the first time in my life there. I'm a Southern Miss fan. I'm a Southern Miss fan, and we're like putting things together for some social media marketing. And Dory said, if you put the hashtag Roll Tide on there, like you're going to generate a lot of views. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I could put those letters together on my keyboard. And so I typed it. And of course, the first thing we posted had 10,000 views, just instant. But some of our favorite highlights so far has been going to Kansas and having people recognize us, has been sitting in an airport in Jackson and having somebody sit down beside us and go, are you Backroads and Burgers? And the same thing happened in Gulf Shores on a contract down there. And so we forget that people, and this was something we wanted to do when we rebranded, is to become more visible, not to hide behind a screen. We wanted people to come up and speak to us, come up and talk to us. And even though a lot of times people message us and say, hey, were you guys just at, so-and-so, we just have so much fun with it. And we recently signed a contract with Reedy Press out of St. Louis. to write the 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die. So we're super excited about this book. Yeah. And we have to have everything turned in by March. It'll be a fall of 23 release. And hopefully that just gives us a little bit more traction with Backroads being our permanent job one day.
You have mentioned the word contract about 3 different times.
Mm-hmm.
What is your process in going about and conducting your business, so to speak?
So we use contract, and it's more of a deliverable agreement from whoever we're working with, like Kelsey Rush in Tuscaloosa gave us a schedule and said, out of this schedule, we need this many social media posts, we need this many blogs, and we need it within this amount of time. And so then we counter that and say, we can do this, this, and this, and we'll give you a schedule and we'll give you an analytics report. So once we've met that agreement with each other, then we formulate a plan and send it back to them. And usually they're just like, yeah, this works. Now we do a lot of private work too. We just, which I'm not at liberty to say, but we're just in contact with a condo owner. Owns a condo in Oklahoma, Texas, and on the Gulf Shores, Alabama. Wants them all marketed, and it's a little different for us that she's going to give us the pictures, she's going to give us the information, and we just turn it around. And so that did require a contract because it's somebody that we're not familiar with. It's somebody that we can't tie to an organization. But now, granted, my contracts are this long. I agree to do this. You agree to do this. It is what it is. But once we're under those terms of that contract, that's our focus for the next 2 months or whatever, which recently we had Gulf Shores, Irving, Texas, and Tuscaloosa, and they're all within 2 months' time. So scheduling to lay out that so they don't counteract is something that we try very hard to do, which we had a blog that had to come out from Gulf Shores the same day we were leaving Irving. And I completely disagree with posting if I'm on another contract. And so our flight left at like 11:58, and I scheduled it to post at 12 o'clock. So we were in the air and at least out of Dallas by the time it got posted. But we have so much fun. We also write for Eat Drink Mississippi magazine, and hope one day that we can create a magazine and bring that home. When you get in the corporate world, money talks, and so a lot of times, which for instance, the magazine sold and it sold to Indiana, which is interesting. But so hopefully one day we'll get to have one closer to home that we can tell these same stories in.
So not only do y'all, I'm from Alabama, I say y'all, so I do, but not only do y'all do a blog and do reviews of certain places, but you also market and everything for those people as well.
Do. We actually, I'm trying to think when it was. We were still in school, so it must have been May. I get a text from our chamber assistant director, and all it said was, "You're going to get a phone call today, and I need you to say yes." Which Dory is in Lawrence County in the Monticello area, and we promote that as much as we can. And I'm in Columbia, so we promote Columbia as much as we can too. But for them to reach out, and I was like, what have they signed us up for? And it wasn't an hour later, I get a call from our police chief, and police chief says, it's never a good thing to get a call from police chief, but in this time it was. He said, we need y'all's help creating a festival, which Columbia is known for their Christmas festival. We have about 40,000 people that come in between Thanksgiving and January 1st, and 3 blocks, no red lights, all 4-way stops. And so people just cram into town. And so they wanted to start a food truck festival and a music festival. And so September 3rd, that's what's coming up. And we've got 10 food trucks signed up, everything from Greek food out of Saraland, Alabama, to Cajun food out of Clinton, Mississippi. So there's people coming from all over for this. So we're hoping for about 10,000 people. So that's a big thing for us to market as well right now. So we really don't shy away from helping anybody or anything that's going on. And so we've got the numbers now. We've got about 50,000 consistent followers who react. And so our reactions and impression rates are sometimes up to 30%. And so if we can assist, that's what we enjoy doing. So
What she's trying to say there, folks, is a lot of people are paying attention to what they are doing.
right. Yeah. Which is still a shock to us that people are paying attention to where we are and what we're doing. And I remember when we got 10,000 followers and I thought, God, there's 10,000 people who make a concerted effort to follow what we're doing. And I just never realized Backroads would become what it is now, but it's a lot of fun.
No doubt. Has to be, right? I mean,
right.
You're living your dream, I'm assuming.
I am living my dream, even if I have to stay roll tide a couple of times a year.
As far as the blogging, let's go back to it. Was creative writing one of your hobbies?
Yeah, I've always loved writing. I'm actually the author of 4 fiction novels. And
really?
Yeah.
I should have done some homework.
And have always enjoyed writing. Now, my students at school will tell you I can't draw. So the only thing I can do is write. And so we just, once we started telling the story, and which that's I'm a history teacher, so I tell stories all day long. And being able to write that same thing and garnering some views, it turned like we just had to learn what blogging was, what SEO is and what keywords are and why they're important and all these kind of things. So we have a good friend from the East Coast. His name's Jason Barnett. He has Road Trips and Coffee, and we were at a conference in Johnson City, and he said, "You would do so well if you did this." And I was like, "Show me how, like, tell us how to do it." And we paid Jason to completely rebuild our website and made it SEO friendly and keyword friendly. And so a lot of things we didn't realize we were doing right. We just didn't have them in the right format to do it. But gosh, it's a lot of fun to do. It is so much fun, but I love to write. I write, I probably write about 4,000 words a day, whether that's on magazine articles or the blog or social media posts, or now the book. So
creative writing used to be a real big passion for me. And I have caught myself lately trying to rekindle that passion a little bit.
Yes, you should.
Back years ago while I was still in school, I actually sat down and tried to write out a fictional story and everything. And I had 2 or 3 notebooks full of just notes and then just actual dialogue and this, that, and the other.
You need to get back into it.
For some strange reason, at that point in time, I was fixated on war, and it was set in Vietnam. I mean, it was one of those
right
macho guy things.
That's okay. They have to have them. Look, growing up, my whole family read like Lewis L'Amour books, and so that was like the first macho books I remember ever seeing, and had a grandpa that read them, and uncle that read them all the time, and that was a different generation, but it needs to be written. So,
well, since you said that, I know there's always been a debate on that. Was it Lewis L'Amour or Louis L'Amour?
Oh, maybe Louis. I'm going way back in my memory, many years ago.
I always thought it was Louis.
It may be. Now I'm diving into 35 years of memory back here, so I'm trying to find that. I'm just impressed came up with a name at all, honestly.
You triggered it with me. I'll be honest with you. So, but yeah, if you don't know who we're talking about, Louis or Lewis, whichever one you want to get, tomato.
Yeah,
Mr. L'Amour.
Mr. L'Amour, yes.
He used to write a lot of old Western stories.
he had like the protagonist and antagonist that you see in all the John Wayne movies.
Yes.
I mean, half of his stories could have been John Wayne movies.
Yes.
So he was good. That makes me want to go read him now. So
Right. I wonder if they ever put any of them on Audible.
oh, I'm sure. I live by Audible, which I drive 48 minutes to school every day one way. And so I get a lot of reading in during that time.
I drive 45 minutes one way to work. So yeah, I'm right there with you. If my phone isn't ringing off the hook on either direction,
yep.
I've actually forgot what it feels like to actually sit there and listen to music or sit there and listen to podcasts lately.
That's what I either listen to, books or podcast. I love Daisy Egan, Strange and Mysterious. That's one of the big ones, and Lore. Those are my two big ones right now to listen to. So,
well, not to sidebar too much, but you were talking about how you were told that about keywords and this, that, and the other. You can have the greatest content out there, but if nobody can find it,
it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. And that's been a struggle for us, because I can put it on Facebook, I can put it on Instagram, and put whatever hashtags that I think are trending at the moment, and get that instant gratification that people are seeing it. But then you post that blog on WordPress and you do all that work to hyperlink businesses and hyperlink the city and keywords and SEO, and you put it out and you're like, why is it not doing any more than that? And then, 2 hours later, you come back and it's blown up. And so the algorithms are, no matter how well you do SEO and how well you do keywords, I think the algorithm is still, I think there's a good time to post, and I think there's a bad time to post. And Dory and I did some studies to determine with our own post, and 6:30 at night was a tremendous time to post. Really? Anything before that, it seemed like it just fell on deaf ears and nobody was paying attention to it. So now, like, I think I have 7 or 8 posts scheduled for the next 2 weeks from Tuscaloosa. And all of those are scheduled between 6:30 and 8 o'clock. And so I think about which we put filler in during the week. If there's a cool story coming out of Mississippi or there's something like that, which keeps our audience engaged enough to make them hold on for our other post. But algorithms are funny, and I think the bigger you're following, the better chance you have at these prime times. But we're still trying to fill all that out, especially in terms of blogs.
Okay. Well, let's just jump in a little bit about your state.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Backroads part of Backroads and Burgers. What, other than where you live, what would be your favorite parts of your state? And if you were to be talking to somebody that has never been to Mississippi at all, how would you describe your state?
I wouldn't say stuck in history, but I and not in a negative sense at all. But I think that Mississippi does such a good job of maintaining its history. And what I mean by that is, like, you can still drive down Old River Road on off of Highway 61 in Lorman, and there's a town there called Rodney, Mississippi. It's got 4 people who currently live there. And one of the churches has a cannonball stuck in it. A cannonball from the USS Rattler, because the Union guys were trying to go to church and the Confederates ran them out, and there was a gunshot fired in church. So you can drive that from south of Natchez, Woodville, Mississippi, and take it all the way to Memphis and experience all the amazing things there is to know about Mississippi. I was just actually telling my students in Mississippi history this week that 70% of Mississippi is still covered in indigenous forest. And that is the highest number in the world for a state or a country. 70% of our state is hidden. So you have two interstates that run through our state, but that's it. Everything else is a two-lane road. If you've never been to Mississippi, you have to go to Natchez. You have to go to Vicksburg. You have to experience the Mississippi Delta at least once. And on the eastern side of the state, you have two of the greatest college towns in the America. You have Starkville and Oxford. I will say I prefer Starkville, but Oxford has a really cool downtown.
Be careful, you'll get some hate.
Oh, I know. Look, we spread that hate thin around here too, and which if Dory is listening, they're huge state fans. So, but
Does she have her own cowbell?
Yes, she does. Her whole family has cowbells.
For people who have never, who do not know the history of the cowbell, that is a huge deal in Starkville.
It is. It's like the 6th or the 11th man in at A&M. Oh no, 12th man at A&M. And so being in the South, you have the amazing food, you have the crazy hospitality, you have football fever all year round, no matter what season it is. But Mississippi still has those crazy places that you can literally get away and not have any cell phone service.
Amen.
And that is amazing to me. Which half of my drive to school every morning, there's no cell phone service, and I'm on a 2-lane state highway. But Mississippi is it's the butt of a lot of jokes, but at the end of the day, it is one of the best kept secrets in our country. So,
the running joke in the state of Alabama was our slogan should be, "Thank God we're not Mississippi," for the long
and we say, "Thank God we're not Arkansas." So, I mean,
right?
So it works out the best.
Yeah. And that's one thing about Alabama that I've never understood. Everybody Alabama's always been the butt of incest jokes.
Yeah.
If you actually look at statistics, it happens everywhere and more prevalent in other places than this state.
Yes. But, yeah. I think that's why we're so excited about writing this book about the 100 places. Now, I will say we were on a trip to Starkville and we had just found out we were getting the contract, and I started making the list. And Dory became the person who started vetting things for us. And so I was reading off my list and she'd say, "Why?" And I was like, "Because it's such a cool historic place." And she was like, "There's 5 categories that we have to equally, distribute all this through." And that was some of the hardest things to do. I had a list of 200 places that I thought were important for people to see. And so I'm hoping, if this goes well, that we're able to write the 100 places to eat in Mississippi, the 100 churches to see, because it doesn't do justice for what I think our state has. So, which I think, I mean, that's kind of how Backroads started. It was promoting our state and showing all the good that came out of it. And so, I mean, I'm proud of, I moved out of our state and, couldn't stand it, had to come back, but I'm glad I experienced something other than Mississippi. But
it makes you appreciate home.
Yes, it does, which Dory and I talk about all the time, that when we're traveling, when we cross that state line and we see the "Welcome to Mississippi" sign, you go, "Whew, we're almost home." And then it's even better when you cross that county line and you're home. And no matter where we travel, it is that appreciation that, oh, I can't wait to get home. We spent 2 weeks in Europe this summer, in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany, and no air conditioning. And it was the hottest summer on record in Europe. Now, granted, it wasn't South Mississippi or South Alabama weather, but nonetheless. But flying back in, getting into Dallas, coming back home, you had that Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for home, and which we have plans. We have a lot of plans to see, which I'll strike out any day. I don't have anybody holding me back, and don't have any family, don't have any children or anything. So I told Dory the other day, I was like, "Hey, can we go to Key West this summer?" And she was like, "I mean, I'll go." Like, I've never been. So I have a bucket list. I have quite let me show you this. I have quite the extensive bucket list. So let me see if I can show you. Oh no, you can't, huh?
Can't.
Anyway, 212 items.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I have been to Key West.
Okay, so yeah.
I back in 2012, my father passed away, and me and my mother were pretty much stuck here taking care of him. And I hate to use the word stuck, but
No, but I understand.
so whenever you're a caregiver for somebody, I don't care how much you love them. It's always worse on the caregiver than it is the patient. If you've ever done it, you know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
It's because you're constantly having to sit there, and at least for me, every day I would see my dad, and it was like seeing a lion that had memories of running the prairies and everything like that, and then he was stuck in a cage. And then you could see, it was almost like every day you could see a little bit of life leave his eyes. It was terrible.
So hard.
And I actually, full disclosure here, I actually got to the point where I needed to go and talk to somebody. Now, granted, they didn't say anything that I didn't already know or anything that I hadn't already told myself or somebody, But one thing that she did say that really stuck with me at that time was I was mourning my dad, even though he was still alive. And it clicked. It really did, because I was it was like, this person that I'm seeing right now he is my dad, but at the same time,
the scale of what he was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after he passed, my mother, bless her heart, and I know she's listening to this, she sacrificed a lot, and she stayed with my dad all the time. She rarely got to do anything for herself because she was the caregiver. And whenever he passed away, I said, I'm going to make sure my mother gets to live and see and do as much as possible.
Yep.
I'm a wrestling fan. Mm-hmm. If you haven't been able to tell by any of my episodes, I am a wrestling fan. And it was WrestleMania 28. The Rock was coming back to wrestle John Cena. And I was like, that would be a fun trip. And we saved up, and I found some tickets that was pretty reasonable. The only part that was really going to be expensive was getting down there, getting back. And at the time, gas wasn't $5 a gallon like it is now.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that here in just a second. I'm sure that's hurting what you're doing as well.
It is.
But we got down there, and I had like 2 hours sleep, and we struck out from Dilworth, Alabama, going to Miami.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I was working at the jail at the time. So we left at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So traffic would be better because I was working evening shift at the time. And got down, 2 hours sleep. I'm chugging 5-hour energy shots. I've still got a picture on my Facebook where I've got one dangling out of my mouth, and I look drunk. I legit looked drunk because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
If you've been down that toll road that goes from 75 to Miami.
Yes, I have.
It's brutal.
It is.
There is nothing down through there but bushes, the Shell gas stations at the top, every 20 miles.
Right. It's like the stretch from Tuscaloosa to Meridian to me. There's nothing there.
Nothing. You ought to drive that in a truck. Yeah, we've got routes that go from Coleman to Jackson
Oh,
or Canton and
yeah.
Madison.
Mm,
Brutal. But anyway, we got down through there and we get down to Miami, and it was just like the gate, like a window opened up. You go from the wilderness to the city, and it's like a whole nother world down there.
yep.
If you're listening to this show from Miami, I appreciate your town. I don't know that much about it. Would love to. Had a fantastic Cuban sandwich on South
Oh,
Beach. My very
yeah.
first one, and I have compared every one of them that I've had to
Mhm.
that one since. And a fantastic mojito as well. But
Yep.
we got down there and we was just like, well, we got this far. I looked at my mother and I was like, why don't we go ahead and go on to Key West? It's not that far from here. Me and my ignorant tail.
Yeah.
We get up, we start driving through Homestead, get over there, and when we see that last chance gas station right there on the right, and
Yep.
then after you get up there on the bridge, it says Key West, 126 miles.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we've done committed now.
And 126 doesn't sound that much if you're on an interstate, but if you're on two lanes,
Brutal.
it's pretty bad.
Plus around I think it was Key Largo. They had some kind of
Mhm.
a festival going on down there, and traffic was backed up for over an hour just to try and get
Oh.
through there. So
Oh.
about 16, 17 hours later, we get down to Key West. We walk around, ended up going over by Margaritaville, and then we went down to the beach, and that beach is in my top 3
Really?
that I've ever seen. Yes. I love the look of it. It's not huge
Hmm.
like it would be at Gulf Shores or Destin or Panama City or
Yeah.
even South Beach for that matter.
Hmm.
But it just kind of looked like one off of an island in a movie. It was beautiful. And there again, I look drunk. My ankles are about that big around. You can't see it because you're listening to me, folks. But my ankles were bigger than Hillary Clinton's. They were huge.
That is a
Huge.
comparison right there.
I look drunk in the picture that I took with Mama. I'm just sitting there, just eyes are half crossed because I am exhausted.
Yep.
I threw her the keys. I was asleep before we got over the bridge.
Oh my gosh.
Sure was.
Well, you had driven, how many hours was it?
16, 17.
Oh my God. That's not fun.
I'd do it again if I had the money.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
So I've never been to Disney. And so we're planning to go in November for my first trip, and we were looking at flights, and flights are, $2,000. And Dory was, in which Ella, her little girl's going to go with us, and she said, well, let's just drive it. It's just 9.5 hours. And hearing her say 9.5 hours sounds so much to some people, but I mean, we drove to Great Bend, Kansas. We drove to, Kingsport and Johnson City 3 times that I know of. And so 9.5 hours is going to be like a walk in the park at that point. So
well, I might be a little weird. I'll drive to Nashville, which is 3 hours just to eat dinner.
Oh, well, yeah.
And come back home. I have
That's
friends.
not a terrible thing.
No. I have friends up in Memphis. Shout out to you if you're listening to me. That I've had relationships with them for years now.
Mhm.
I don't get up. I used to get up there at least for a stretch. I was getting up there twice a month.
Wow.
While I was working at the jail, I couldn't get out of this state quick enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was right the opposite of way you were describing a while ago.
Right.
Anytime I seen a different county line sign,
You were excited to get out. Mm-hmm.
I grinned.
Yeah.
Whenever I seen a state line, I smiled.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like a 500-pound weight was off my shoulders for a little while.
I couldn't imagine.
But what you said a few minutes ago about appreciating where you come from,
Mm-hmm.
I feel that now.
Yeah.
I I started when I started with the company that I'm with now. The branch that I was working out of was 72 miles from my house. So I was driving 72 miles, working 12-hour shift, driving 72 miles back. And I was able to appreciate Walker County
Mhm.
a whole lot more because I
Yeah,
was spending time somewhere else. And,
right.
and it got to the point where now when I see a Walker County sign entering Walker County, I smile
Uh-huh.
because
It's
I
that
know,
breath again that you get to enjoy.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. So Walker County, how close is that to Scottsboro?
about 2 hours.
Okay. So we've worked in Scottsboro as well. So beautiful area.
Oh, it
Fantastic
is.
hikes.
Seven
Mhm,
Highway 79 from Gunnersville up to
mhm.
Scottsboro is one of the best rides you'll ever have.
Yes. We stayed we took that every day and we stayed up on a mountain at Pisgah.
Mhm.
And so that was a beautiful area. Love North Alabama.
Yes, it is very beautiful, but you got to be
Mhm.
careful. I think there's still snake handling churches up there.
It wasn't long after we left up there, we read about a, a man who was a preacher at a church there, and he was trying to catch his wife in a lie and stuck her hand in rattlesnakes, and she got bit and died, and he was charged with murder. So I can't think of the name of the book, but we were talking about that on our trip up there. So it happens in Mississippi too. My mom has been in a church that it happened when she was a young girl. So
Going back to Mississippi,
yes.
I have always been ever since I went past it. I had a route to go run, and I'd always heard about it,
Mhm.
and I've seen signs and everything for it. Have you ever been over to the Blues Hall of Fame?
Yes, it's tremendous. It's amazing. Yeah.
Blues is one of my favorite music genres to listen to. I've been playing drums for since I was 14.
Hmm.
Blue, everybody who don't understand blues, it's nothing but a jam session for the
It
most part, and it is so much fun to play.
I'm not musically inclined, but I love listening to it. Love. So if you ever get a chance to go to Ground Zero, up in, I believe it's in Greenville, you got to go to Ground Zero.
Is there
Um,
more than one location of it? Because I've actually followed the one in Biloxi.
okay, yes. So Morgan Freeman owns the one or co-owns the one in Greenville. And now they've turned it into like I guess it does have another location now, but the original one, like you're not sure if it's gonna be stable enough to go in. Like it's old school. Like I mean, people are getting their starts there. A lot of people think like Bo Diddley and some of the big names got their start there. But like you have that, and you have the Grammy Museum in Cleveland, Mississippi. You have the Robert Johnson, the Crossroads, and all of that is within 100 miles of each other, which is tremendous to me.
Where exactly was the so-called crossroads at? Has anybody been able to pinpoint that yet?
It is, yeah, it is. It's Highway 61 and Highway 49, just outside, just north of Cleveland, Mississippi. Now, granted, Cleveland's grown a lot since then, but back where it was supposed to have happened would have been nothing but um, cotton fields and a railroad track. Very close to what it was described as. No, brother, where art thou? So. Um, but if that is a geographical part of Mississippi that is unlike any other part of Mississippi. There are no trees, none. If there may be one or two, and they're in a cemetery or they're in front of a house and they have a porch swing attached to it or something. But Grammy Museum in Cleveland, Mississippi, home of the Fighting Okra is Delta State. It's well worth the trip. Well worth it. That's a whole different part of the country. It's kind of like Miami. You almost need a passport to go. You almost need that for the Delta.
It just simply because of the diversity and the fact that
Yes,
nobody
yes.
has ever really.
No, I mean, there's been so many books written about it. There's been so many articles written about it, but best food, best tamales, best music, best everything is just within that one little geographical spot of Mississippi, and it's so different. Then you drive 100 miles to the east, and you're back on I-55, and you're in the woods again. So just a really cool segment of Mississippi that I think everybody should. I mean, I think you should have to experience Mississippi Delta at least once if you're a school child, if in Mississippi. So
Now, there's one thing that you were talking about earlier, where you were
mhm.
talking about college traditions. You left one out. You left out Hattiesburg.
I as the crow flies, I am 22 miles from Hattiesburg right now. Spent best 5 years of my life at the University of Southern Mississippi. Have a tattoo to prove it, how much my love is for Hattiesburg. Hattiesburg has the Rock. We have one of the best baseball teams in the country. And they tailgate like none other. They just do it on a smaller scale. So cool place though.
If Southern Miss would have offered me a football scholarship, I would have went and had a smile on my face.
Yeah, it's just a sweet little community school, almost very personable.
Yes.
Very,
And
very.
one of the best and one of the nicest campuses that you'll find in the South.
Oh, absolutely. I got to see pretty much all that campus. I couldn't get it right in 4 years, so I had to spend one more year and a little bit more of my parents' money while I was there. But had a good time. Picked some roses while I was there. Didn't realize that was illegal. But I just thought
It's
my mama.
illegal.
Yeah, it's the All American Rose Garden. Apparently, it's like $500 a rose. But I just thought my mama would be really excited about having some roses on her table when I came home that weekend, and she was horrified. She was counting money. She counted the roses, and she was like, "Where did you get these?" And I was like, "They have them all out front at school. Like they were free." Thank goodness they haven't taken my degree or anything away from me for all that.
What's the statute of limitations on this?
Oh, that would have been 2003. So I'm hoping 18 years is enough. Hopefully.
Other than your festival coming up on September 3rd,
Yes.
what other projects have you got coming up?
So we have the festival. We're working on the book actively. We're hoping to get that done before Christmas. Um, I we are actually going to Cleveland, Mississippi in October. The fall schedule is very hard for us to book out because Ella, Dory and Billy's youngest, is big into cow shows. They travel all over the state, and she shows her cows. And so that is a project that I know nothing about, but yet I go and support her every weekend wherever she is. But Cleveland will be a big one. Then we'll be headed down to Orlando. Christmas season will be coming around, and we're hoping to have a couple of things local during Christmas. But then, of course, spring rolls around. We'll be back in Irving in March. And then who knows next year. So we have a lot of feelers out. We have a lot of fun things that we just need to give them the go ahead on. I know Dixon County, Tennessee is waiting on us to just say go. I know Ocoee, North Carolina is waiting on us just to say go. Ocoee, Tennessee, North Carolina, waiting on us to say go. But when you're teaching full time, I'm in grad school as well. Dory is teaching full time. It just gets really hard. So we had somebody tell us the other day that our real job was getting in the way of our fun job. And that was the best way they could have put it. But we'll keep
I
grinding.
have that problem here too.
Yes. I mean, we'll just keep grinding and see what the Lord makes of it. So, if he sees that we need to do this full time, then we'll jump and run with it. So, but until then, I'll show up every day and I'll teach my little 7th and 8th graders all I can about, U.S. history and a Mississippi history and enjoy the heck out of it. So,
Brandi, I appreciate you taking your time to come on the porch. Dory,
this has been so
again,
much
we've
fun.
missed you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you on the next round because I really hope there is a next round.
Oh, for sure. You just let us know when. This is awesome. And you're our first podcast. So we've never been on a podcast before. So we appreciate you having us on and following us and liking what we've got going on too. I think you've got a really cool thing going, and I love the whole idea of the front porch, and there's just nothing like sitting on a front porch or back porch in the South and having you a nice cold drink and watching the sun go down.
I'm in the process, and there again, just like you were talking about, work's getting in the way of my fun job, but I'm trying my best to get it to where I'm going to dress this back porch up a little bit, and
yeah,
going to try and see what we can come up with. I'll just leave it at that.
I love it.
While we're talking,
anything that we can help you with, please let us know, and you just let us know when you're ready for us to come back on.
Well, I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking right off the top of my head. Sounds to me like I need to come to Mississippi and do a little road tripping with you.
I agree 100%. You could do we could set you up with a lot of people to do podcasts with here.
On that note, Brandi, I appreciate you coming on. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, you can find us at Facebook. You can find us at Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all us Backroads and Burgers, or on the web at backroadsandburgers.com.
Thank you very much for coming on to the show. Looking forward to round 2 as well.
Yes, sir. Have a great night.
Big thanks to Brandi Perry for coming on the porch. You can find Backroads and Burgers on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Give them a like or follow and tell them you heard Brandi on Porch Matters. If you are new to the show and like what you hear, hit that like, subscribe, or follow button and download the episodes in our archives. If this show has been a positive addition to your life, please rate the show and leave a review. It won't take you but a minute, and it really would help the show. Find us on social media by typing Porch Matters Podcast into the search bar. Word of mouth is still the best way of sharing. Pick your favorite episode and share it with at least one person this week. There are a lot of people out there that have never heard of a podcast before. I sure would appreciate it, and I'll see you next time right here on Porch Matters.